Okay, so the past couple of weeks have been pretty important for Metamaterials, especially after the recent major announcement that they made with acquiring Nanotech. And someone like me, somebody that's been investing into Metamaterials for a while, after hearing about this and seeing the follow-up news, I'm really excited and I'm really hopeful and confident enough to say that I really believe that this is only the beginning. What's up guys, my name is Darren Jackson. Welcome back to another video, and hopefully a lot of you guys are in the green right now with Metamaterials. Obviously, if you're a long-term investor, then this is something that you're going to be expecting at some point in the future. But recent news like what we've gotten in the past couple of days, I think really helped. For starters, back on August 5th, Metamaterials made their first announcement that they would be acquiring a company called Nanotech Security Corporation. And if you're like me, you had no idea what that company was. So after I heard the news, I started researching what the company was all about. And honestly, I was really excited about it. And then I could be a little more excited when I reread the headlining news. So they actually acquired Nanotech for a total of 90 million Canadian dollars, or a little over that. And this acquisition would go through if all the shareholders of Nanotech actually agreed upon it. So there was this huge shareholders meeting that took place on September 28th, and it was almost unanimous. Over 98% of shareholders of Nanotech actually voted for the acquisition. Those other 2%, I can't imagine. I don't know what you were thinking, but regardless, the acquisition is good to go, and it should be fully taking place by October 5th, which currently I don't know what day that is. If it's a weekend and Nanotech is a company that you're investing into, then that should convert into Metamaterials. And if you're Metamaterials, then you know you just acquired Nanotech. And all that was great news, especially after knowing what Nanotech was, but it really got me thinking, what now? What now meaning, this is a company, this is a move that Metamaterials made intentionally. What do they plan on doing? What is the ultimate goal? So I asked you guys on Twitter what you thought, and honestly, a lot of the answers I got from you guys weren't what I was necessarily thinking I would get, but regardless, they actually helped me come up with 3 different things that I'm really looking forward to post this acquisition with Metamaterials and Nanotech. So if you're a day trader, or maybe somebody that's really paying a lot of attention to the every hour trading volume with Metamaterials, you may have noticed the random event where the trading volume just suddenly increases. One general opinion that I have is just every day people are learning more and more about Metamaterials, and whether they see it as a meme stock, something that's just haha funny, it may give them some profit now and they'll pull out before it goes down, or they see it as a long-term hold that could potentially be worth dramatically more than what it is now, they're learning about the company. And especially considering that the news that's been coming out lately has been more so good and nothing really bad, they're hopefully buying into the stock and making call options, etc., etc. Point is, the stock price is going up. One of the things I'm actually looking forward to, and it should be very obvious, is another increase in trading volume. Back to the $90 million buyout that Metamaterials did with Nanotech. That 90 million Canadian dollar buyout is based off a purchase of each share of Nanotech at about $1.25 Canadian dollars per common share. So if you are a Nanotech holder, then you will get $1.25 per share that you have, which doesn't seem like a lot, but this is actually 101% higher than what the 30-day average volume price was, which at that time was about 62 cents. So you're getting 100% more money for every share that you had at that point. And on top of that, if you held prior, the share price actually went from the late 40 cents to almost $1 just from the news coming out. So that's a lot more money you're getting. So we should be getting some additional volume, including people that were day one investors in Nanotech, or some people that hopped on the bandwagon, so to speak, after potentially hearing rumors about being acquired by Metamaterials, or people that bought in after hearing the news about being acquired by Metamaterials. Either way, that increase in volume could potentially help the stock price continue to go even higher, and hopefully we get to this $10 per share and then some, kind of like what we were at before we got dropped with the news of the reverse split, which obviously no one really liked. So one thing I found really cool about this acquisition between the two companies is that it didn't really feel like an acquisition. It felt more like a merger. And what I mean by that is, it wasn't that Metamaterials just threw a bunch of money at the board of directors of Nanotech and they sold out and took the paycheck and moved on. It feels like each company needs something from the other company. And overall, I think an increase of productivity is definitely going to happen, hopefully very soon. So for example, each company is going to be expanding their operations post this acquisition. In an audio interview that included the CEOs of each company, the CEO of Nanotech mentioned how they have a huge facility in Quebec, but they currently operate only in 30% of it. So obviously with a company like Metamaterials, they'll be able to occupy the remaining 70% where they can work on their stuff and work on nanotech stuff. Basically, you have more items being produced and obviously more money. On top of that, Metamaterials has already announced that they're building a 66,000 square foot facility in Nova Scotia, where they'll primarily be working on their OEM or original equipment manufacturing projects, which could lead to more patents and ultimately, hopefully, more money. So with Nanotech, they're seemingly getting a boost from operations after this acquisition from Metamaterials. Metamaterials is going to more so get a boost on producing what they're already producing from Nanotech. So when I read about Nanotech, one of the things that makes them really competitive is their use of their roll-to-roll lithography on the things that they do. They work with branding, so like tags you'll see on shirts and clothing and even tickets to events, to Banknote Security, which is actually a lot more important with them. They actually have a secret contract with a banking financial company or corporation. The only thing we know is that this company is one of the top 10 companies in their field in the entire world. So this is something really big and it's a multi-year contract. So basically Nanotech really prides themselves on using this roll-to-roll lithography and being able to produce thousands to millions of square feet of film to apply to whatever they do. And they'll be able to not only provide that for Metamaterials on their applications, but also the manufacturers and the research and developers to assist Metamaterials on that as well. And of course, Metamaterials will also be expanding on their verticals. Metamaterial already works with 5G connectivity, antennas, defogging, de-icing, aerospace, automobiles, things of that nature, and they'll also be able to assist Nanotech with branding and banknote security features. So more verticals makes them more diverse. Really good thing. And ultimately, I really think that this is going to support something I believe George Palakara said in a recent interview, where the ultimate goal of these mergers and acquisitions is to help position Metamaterials as a world leader of high volume and low productivity. So this could ultimately also help attract a lot of different companies, a lot of big name companies that expect a lot in a short period of time and result in bigger contracts for each respective company. So like I said before, I asked you guys on Twitter a few days ago about what you were anticipating or expecting or hoping after this acquisition. And one of the mentions I got was something in regards to the Hazel project, something I hadn't heard of up until this point. But of course I did more research on that. And I understand why this is something that people were looking forward to. So Torchlight actually owns 9,600 acres of land in Sterling, Texas, and the project they were working on seemingly was called the Hazel Land Project. And back in August of 2020, they actually agreed to sell that 9,600 acres of land for $1,300 per acre to whatever company, as long as these drilling obligations were satisfied. And as long as that happened, then the funds would be transferred to Torchlight and its investors no later than March 31st. But in May of this year, Torchlight actually announced an extension of the selling of the Hazel Land project to September 30th of this year, aka a few days ago, to actually sell the land. And at this point, we have no idea if it's been sold or what's happening or if there's another extension. At least I don't know. If you guys know, definitely leave comments below. But regardless, the reason why that's really important is because it's land that Torchlight owns. And if you've been keeping up with this dividend situation, you know that these dividends can be paid out in different periods of time every time an asset of Torchlight's has been sold before the end of this year. The Hazel Land project would be one of those assets. And if it's still $1,300 per acre, it'd be worth over $12 million, which will equate to who knows how much per share that you own before the record date back in June of this year. News like that could drive more investors to invest in this company just because it seems like the things that they're saying are coming to fruition. But that's just something we're going to have to see. So even though I'm really hopeful and optimistic about the future of this company, Metamaterials isn't the only company I talk about. I talk about a lot of other companies I'm really hopeful for in the future. And if you're ever interested on my personal opinion on what company I think is going to take off first, make sure you watch this video. I really think you're going to enjoy it. But I appreciate you guys watching. And until next time, take care.